Hi everyone!
Hello.
Today our guest is Natalia Trofimenko. She is the founder of Best People Movers. Natalia, please tell us briefly about yourself and your business and how did you get an idea to start it?
Victoria, thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure. But I have to remind you, last time when we did our interview, we went really over the board. I think we spent like 20 more minutes than planned, so please just stop me. You know how I like to talk. Hi everyone, so I'm Natalia from Best People Movers. I'm co-founder and co-owner of the company. We import luxury people movers from Japan, luxury yet affordable, mainly 7 and 8 seaters, fully optioned, high-tech. I love them. It's been probably 15 years that I'm in business, and yeah, wow. I still love it. Yeah, how I ended up being a motor dealer, that's a good question. Me and my husband, we came to Australia in 2001 so that I can study photography. So I did a photo media course in College of Fine Arts in Sydney, in Oxford Street. I absolutely loved it. It was 3 years, and then I did the year 4, like honors. Well, what can I say? It was still pre-digital era. So we did a lot of black and white printing, color printing. We used medium format cameras, large format cameras. I loved it, and of course I wanted to continue with photography, to be honest, but by the time I graduated I kind of realized that there's too many photographers out there, and to become a successful one you need a long time to establish yourself. And my husband was born with one disability. He's nearly completely deaf, so he can't work full-time. Yeah, and then by the time of my graduation, he was diagnosed with another medical condition. So I was kind of the only one to support the family. And I worked for 2 years for Alan Hunt Wedding Photography. That was really actually good money and a good experience, and a wonderful opportunity to see how multicultural Sydney is. So I did all sorts of weddings, Greek, Italian, Lebanese, Australians. I even did some Muslim weddings because as a woman I could go, you know, and photograph these women. I loved it, but in 2 years' time, firstly, it became quite boring because you kind of you see the same things every time. Then it was always Saturday and Sunday, and usually it was a 15 hours work. It was really hard. My gear was 3.5 kilograms. And by the end of the day, I was so exhausted, I couldn't move the next day. And I was always under pressure that I can ruin someone's wedding day. Like if something happens to my camera, then, you know, what are they gonna do? So after 2 years, I decided it's just not me. You need to be basically a tall, muscly guy. Remember how before we didn't have drones, and to get an interesting shot I used to climb on furniture,
really?
You know, go down, go sideways, you know, go up, and I was really envious of tall guys that can do it, you know, from any point. Anyway, so it was just natural for us. I forgot to tell you that while I was studying, it was so expensive. I was an international student, and my fees were around like $15,000 a year plus Sydney rent, plus everything else, plus we had to buy our own paper and, you know, film to sustain ourselves. We sold everything in Russia, everything we owned, like apartment, cars, but still wasn't enough. So to sustain ourselves, we came up with this idea to sell cars from Japan as private, so like once a month, once every 2 months. Yeah, so, and it really helped. So when I finished studying, we just thought it would be natural to keep going, but, you know, get a proper license, you know, get a shop. And in 2007, in February, we got licensed first as wholesalers, and next month I found out I'm pregnant. So yeah, 11 years in business. Yeah.
Interesting story. Natalia, can you tell us how it's profitable to sell used Japanese cars, and maybe you can give us some actual numbers.
I'll try without going into too much of a detail.
Okay.
Well, as with any business, Victoria, it's up and down all the time.
Yes, I agree.
Plus our business is heavily regulated by government in terms of what we can bring and in terms of the numbers. I think as far as I'm concerned, our best run was 2011, 2012, 2013. The yen was really cheap, so we can get the cars cheaper. All those models were highly popular, and we used to have I have never been on the road. I was always operating from factories. I'll explain later why. So we had estima shop, so like factory shop, a factory for estimas, then another factory for Elgrans opposite each other, and then I was also renting a yard. I was doing back then between 100 and 120 vehicles a year.
Wow.
By myself. So my husband would buy and I would sell. Yeah. But now we've downsized considerably because the models are getting older and the government is yet to tell us what are they going to allow, like what sort of vehicles. So we don't want to have 100 of vehicles that, you know, are going to be prohibited or not popular. So we're just waiting for all those major decisions that are coming hopefully later this year.
So, and now, how are you different from your competitors?
Well, that's a very good question. I think we are different on many levels, but there's a couple of two obvious points that we can discuss here. Firstly, I think I'm the only woman, not just in Sydney, but in Australia, selling Japanese imports for 15 plus years. I've got some gray hairs, but so far so good. My customers, especially women, they love that because they can connect with me on many levels. I think by research shows that 70 or 80% of decision is what sort of car to drive is, you know, belong to a woman, to women.
Yes,
women.
that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, and these days more and more women come to test drive vehicles, even without their husbands, just, you know, they make a decision, they test drive, and then they call a husband and, you know, then to purchase they come together or whatever, sometimes even not. So, because a lot of women, they're like myself, I'm quite timid by nature, so if I would have to buy a vehicle, I wouldn't go in a car yard. I'll just be scared because there's so many pushy salespeople. Yeah, you have to understand when you go an open car yard on the road, straight away you have to pay tens of thousands of dollars in overheads, rent, salary, insurance, whatever. And instead of caring about customer, all you care is how to sell to pay your bills, because you have to pay the bills. Yeah, $20,000-$30,000 is your bill, so you have to sell. Here I'm not pressured. It's only me and my husband. If we don't sell enough, we don't pay ourselves salary, and my rent is very minimal. So to me, the most important things are high quality of what I sell and happiness of my customers. So because it's a very, to buy a car is not to buy a cup of coffee or a sandwich. Yeah, we can sulk a little bit that the coffee wasn't good, but that's a couple of dollars. But when you buy a car, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. It's your daily companion. It has to be really good quality, and that's what I care about.
Yeah, that's good. So, Natalia, is it difficult to be a mom, a wife, and a business owner in this at the same time? And
yeah, I was waiting for this question, Victoria. I think it really depends on the age of the children. Let's not talk about husbands, like, you know, they are adults and, you know, I'm not so much concerned, but children, yes. If you have school children, if they're independent, they have their own interest, you know, that's fine.
Like our daughters now.
Yeah, you can easily do it. But when you have a baby, newborn, it's becoming extremely difficult because the baby needs you. No matter what some magazines will say, or people, that a bottle is fine, daddy is fine, nanny is fine. I believe that baby needs mom.
Yeah, I agree
and
with
for as long as possible, 2-3 years first, first years of their lives, because it's bonding. And I can give you example from my own life. When I was about 14 or 13, I couldn't understand why I really care about one set of grandparents and don't care about the other. Really bothered me that I love so much, my dad's mom and dad, and don't feel anything towards my mom's. And then I figured out much later that it's because apparently my parents would drop me off for days and weeks at my dad's parents. And although I can't remember that they nursed me, but this love, it sort of carries through my whole life.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And another example, our poet Alexander Pushkin.
Yeah.
Do you know what his mom's name? No one.
Not exactly, yeah, but
no one
Arina
knows.
Rodionovna.
Exactly. If you
yeah.
say Arina Rodionovna, millions of people will say Pushkin's nanny. Why? Because she was there from his birth to his exile, etc. So obviously this bond is really important. So if you want your child to be, your friend for as long as you can be friends, then yeah, you have to.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's a really important question for me now because
very
my
soon
due,
you're gonna
in
be a
2
mom.
months,
Yeah.
and I can't wait, and so I don't know how I can manage to my
Yeah,
business.
you can always do, the same what I did. Ksenia was strapped on me for the first 2.5
Yeah,
years.
it's my plan.
Yeah, so I think I resembled myself, those, when they show us people working in Vietnam or China, rice fields, and the baby strapped to the mother and they're wearing the hats. So I was a bit like that. But with me, it still didn't help much because although Ksenia was with me all the time, I wasn't with her. Mommy Dearest was on the phone all the time discussing customs, compliance, sales, problems. So she would just, constantly trying to cover my mouth. So it is hard, it's challenging, but I think, you can do it.
I will try.
I think your business is not as stressful as mine. I think so. No, not really.
Not really.
Okay,
yeah, but
it's
but
hard,
I try,
when you're
yeah.
outside, it's hard to judge. But put it this way, I was selling about 100 cars a year. That means multiplied by 5. So there were a lot of people that would call me and wouldn't buy. So 500, 600 customers a year,
Yeah, oh my
constant,
God.
non-stop
Yeah.
talking. Yeah, okay, I better
Yeah.
shut up. So what's
Okay,
on
the next question. Tell us about your big disappointments and how did you cope with them?
Well, probably there's a couple again. Government doing everything to shut us down. I don't know why. Japanese import accounts only for 1% of total, car sales, and they're still not happy, and they don't want to do it, and just trying to find a way how to to finish us off. But so far so good. We're still here, still alive and kicking. But to give you a comparison, New Zealand, so much smaller country, like 4 million plus people, they're selling over 10,000 Japanese vehicles a month, and here we are selling 500 a month. So it's not even comparable.
Yeah, of course.
And the second worry is there's a lot of fake mileages in our market, and again the government is not doing anything to stop it. It would be really easy to stop it. They're not interested. So how I'm coping, I've done a video where I explain how to verify your mileage. I'm trying to explain to everyone who comes here how to do it, but unless the government does something about it, it's really hard. I can't win in this situation by
Yes,
myself.
I
Yeah,
understand.
it's impossible.
So how do you look for new customers? Yeah.
Still, I think the main channel for me is car sales, but it's quite expensive, and I would love to reduce the amount of money
How
that
much?
Oh, even if I advertise a little bit, $2,000 a month.
Wow.
Even if it's not enough, yeah, and it's usually 2+. And to cover all my vehicles, I would look at $4,000 bill, which is impossible. Yeah. So plus Google AdWords, I started Google AdWords recently. I'm still struggling. It's really difficult, but getting there,
Okay,
getting
that's
some
good.
inquiries. Yeah.
And what have you done in terms of working with social media?
Social media. Well, for a long time, I could not. I always had a Facebook account for Best People Movers, but I wasn't really using it until I went and did a course with Victoria at 105 Ideas for Marketing. So it helped me to understand the idea of content marketing, that I have to give more to my customers, not just the cars that I sell, but some interesting information. So I'm doing this, and I'm now developing Instagram account. And also, I think priority number one would be YouTube videos. Yeah, because I love to talk and
Yeah, so media is number one.
yeah. So those three, they're my priorities.
Okay, may I give you some advice
Sure,
about
sure.
your business? Maybe it would be helpful for you. So it's really good that you focus on content marketing, because it's really important for you not focus on reaching more people, and you need to concentrate on exactly your ideal customers. So don't try to make your audience broader and wider. Instead of that, you need to create more value for your customers.
For ideal customers.
Yeah, even they're already old customers. So they would recommend you. And what are you doing? I see you doing the best, and you're doing perfect, and I really love to read your articles. It's really interesting. And you not concentrated only on sales, and not only about
Because I'm not pressured here.
Yeah, and that's good, and because some people don't understand that. Even if your clients buy cars, they have different interests.
Exactly.
Yes, so they still people, just normal people. Yes,
family people.
And may I give some maybe useful for you little tips for Facebook ads? So as I know, you always using boosting posts. That's good, but I recommend you to use Facebook Ads Manager. It's more complicated.
So much longer.
Yeah, it's more complicated tool, but it will save more your money. And so it gives to you more tools, and you can use opportunity. And here the little difference, because before I recommended to different strategy, but now when Facebook algorithm was completely changed, and now we have to change again. So when you just try to reach people through video, that's really good. Video content, it's number one, as we said before. So you can use two-step process. So first of all, you setting the company with objective video views, but before I recommend to use to target 10-second views as
so when I do adjustments,
adjustments. So first you have really good video and you want to reach more potential customers, and you do step number one. You're setting up the company with video views, only video views, not engagement,
nothing,
no
just
traffic,
video views.
And use 2-second views as a target. And so you get a lot of people. It's really broad, but the next step, before I recommended to use traffic as an objective. But now I recommend to use engagement. So engagement, and you can reach people who want to engage with your brand. So, and this really little maybe changes, but it helps to save more money and reach more customers for your business.
But are they gonna like my page if they with
So,
the video views?
Yes, and that's good. And I want to add about if you do engagement and they like your post, you have to go to your page and invite them to exactly in this maybe 15 minutes, because even after 1 hour they maybe forgot
what is this?
The person. So you can use this touching, and maybe it will be just
it will lead to a
continue,
sale, or engagement.
Then that's it, because as I see you doing everything.
Thank you so much, Victoria. And today I think we're good girls. We're on time.
And thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thanks for
your
watching.
attention. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye. Have a wonderful day.